But yeah, I'll start with a few. So, some of the ways, right, in which men are kind of not discriminated against, but just not favored, right, is that we make up 97% of combat fatalities, pay 97% of alimony, make 94% of work suicides, make up 93% of work fatalities, lose custody in 84% of divorces or 80% of all suicides. 77% of homicide victims are men, and 89% of men will be the victim of at least one violent crime. And now there's a much longer list, but I'm going to end on this one. Men are 165% more likely to be convicted than a woman. Because that's an interesting thing just in itself. Because we've got this idea that men are the evil, often gonna, or more often gonna be the bad guy in a situation, right? So, if this even happened, in cases of like pedophilia. So that if a man is like considered a pedophile, it's instantly just right. Lock him away, just shut him away, and why not? But in the other side of it, when there's a woman that does that and she gets taken on radio, and sure, often treated, still convicted, but treated much more fairly and allowed to at least give her side in a lot of ways. And there was quite a funny interview that I was watching where this woman was just on this talk show saying, I didn't even realize he was so young and this and that, and just talking about why it happened. And I mean, you get that if someone's underage but they look older, it's a mistake that people could make. But it's if a man does it, it's instantly just this guy is human scum, and it's just assumed. And sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not.
But I think it comes down to men being in that sort of situation more dominant, more powerful, and they're able to kind of take charge in that situation. But this isn't like, I'm not talking about because I know a case in where I live, from Plymouth, where this nursery worker was taking or taking photos of the children naked, and it all got out, and then she got arrested, and she got a fair sentence to what you would expect from that. But if we bring it to like sort of situations where they're like 6 or they're like 15 below the legal age, and they're going to clubs and
in that case it's easy to like mistake someone if it's in a situation where you'd only ever expect someone overage to be there.
And it does happen more for men are more likely to do it, I think, than women are, and that goes for all crimes in general. I think men are more likely to commit a crime than a woman is.
Yeah, but there's I've seen some statistics going around where like I think it was 98% of all school shooters are male, which is an interesting kind of thing to think about. But you also look into it, and almost all of them come from single homes, and are being raised by like a single mum. So even that is I don't know. It's I've lost my train of thought, but there's a lot more to it than just the surface level of these conversations, so
yeah, there's always more to it, and it's hard.
Yeah, so it like there's people label it as just this idea of male toxic masculinity, which just does not make sense to me, right? Because like what is it? There's this idea that masculinity is a bad thing, but
yeah, I guess to some degree it can, I guess, get a little bit toxic when you because I know there's something about, there's obviously a stigma of men admitting to like mental health issues and things like that, and I guess then it gets kind of a bit toxic when men are supposed to stay strong and can't admit their faults or what's going on inside their head. But there's a role men play, I think, in society where we have to be the stronger sex.
Yeah,
I think, and we have to be, I don't know, it's just I don't know, it's just the way the world works, I think.
Well, there are biological reasons for that, though. That's the interesting thing. So, like, I mean, Bud Dan was saying that a couple of days ago. So we were talking about what men are attracted to and what women are attracted to. So women usually will be attracted to the top 20% of men and view any man in the 80% below that as under average in terms of like attractiveness, just because of what it means to be like female. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's biological. It's like selective mating. So there's it's part of why we've evolved quite a bit faster than other species. So it allows us. I keep losing my train of thought.
I know.
But you get where I'm going, don't you?
Yeah, because men base their they find women attractive on looks.
Yeah.
More than anything, I think,
Mhm.
and then women look more to social status of a man.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of dictates whether they'll, because it makes sense to the woman, doesn't it? Their eventual kid will get looked after and things like that.
Well, yeah, it's security, really, isn't it?
Yes,
And
the
then,
security.
So
And
for a man is so like men are naturally is polygamy, I think the word is, and then for women it's hypergamy. So there's polygamy is like you try and just mate with a wide variety
as
of
many
people.
get out
Yeah.
there, get your seed out
especially when you're like quite young. You've kind of got
Mhm.
that more kind of that energy to just, you know, if society allowed it, and certainly if the women your age allowed it, it would just every night be a different woman. For most guys, that they'd be totally up for that.
But I think the reason like that has been cut out of society naturally, organically, is because I think of STDs and things like that, and that's the whole reason why I think society has become more reserved than what it was when it was.
Well, that you're talking about, so that the aftermath of like the Second World War, the kind of 60s.
No, I mean, I think even before that,
all right,
like way before that, humans were realizing that it wasn't good for us to
so
sleep around.
Certainly, it's more stable for a child to grow up in a family with a mom and dad. So I get what you mean from that
There's
point.
that as well.
Yeah, it helps for society to have men that are willing to settle down, right?
That works.
So it's for both to exist. There has to be like either the hypergamy has to win in a sense, and the polygamous man will accept to just be with one person, or the other way around, like polygamy takes over and hypergamy no longer works. So they can't both work. They're constantly kind of at odds with each other.
Yeah.
And I probably should have explained this at the beginning of the conversation, but so hypergamy is the idea of marrying upwards. So not necessarily marrying, but finding a mate who's going to be taller, stronger, more money, able to provide, right? Part of the issue that a lot of women who are extremely successful find is that it doesn't having lots of money doesn't help them to find a mate as much as it does a man. It doesn't necessarily restrict it in a sense, but the way they feel about it does. So for really successful women, it's very rare to see them marry down in a sense.
No, yeah, and that it kind of makes sense, as it would have to probably be a man above her. Yeah,
which
for her to kind of find attractive
people that she's going to be attracted to.
So a man like not in a lower position or social lower in the social hierarchy than her, she's not going to find him attractive, and he's probably not going to find her. He probably doesn't want to be with her because it will make him feel less of a man.
And well, he would know as well deep down that if she got bored of him, she could just leave him and find someone else. So there's that idea of men are kind of the other way, where it's like, well, you find someone who you know is going to be is more likely to be attracted to you, who is smaller, less intelligent, and all that. So it's interesting how that kind of dynamic works.
Yeah, and obviously there'll be anomalies to the situation.
Yeah. It's all
But on average,
averages.
yeah, averages. On average, it works out that way.
But that kind of has a lot to play within how society's been constructed, and it's really fascinating to learn about. But
It is, yeah.
I get that. Like as a woman listening to this, you might think, well, what's the point then? You know, what's the point getting an education? There's a lot of reasons to. It's just I guess feminism's kind of not it's not even a problem. It's just the way it's told. It's kind of put two groups of women at war with each other in a sense. Because it's created a group of women that want a really successful career, and you can have both, but there's always kind of compromises that happen in between.
Yeah, definitely. Life does come with compromises, especially when you get in a relationship with someone. You've got to kind of sacrifice some things for the person you're getting in a relationship with, and oftentimes it's the woman has to kind of put a career on hold to raise the kids, and while the man kind of provides. And it does sound kind of old-fashioned these days, but I think still that's probably most often the case.
Yeah, it's still the most stable way of having a family where both parents are there.